Hi there, this is Brad with Shipping Easy. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for the Shipping Easy webinar on shipping rules. Today we're going to talk about various automations that you can get set up within the Shipping Easy software. Before we get started, just a little bit about myself. I've been with the company for 5 years. I've worked in sales, onboarding, and support. So I work hand in hand with you merchants every single day, helping you optimize the software, solve complex problems, and that sort of thing. This is a good webinar for, we're going to keep it pretty broad as far as what these shipping rules and automation features are capable of. They're capable of a lot. We could be very finite or very broad with them. I'm going to give you guys the 3 most common uses for a shipping rule, and then I'll open it up at the very end for questions. So if you find yourself having any questions while I am speaking, feel free to put them in the chat box, the Q&A box. I will circle back and answer any question that you guys have. It could be about what we've talked about today on a shipping rule. It could be about something you're experiencing in your own account. Do we support packing slips? Whatever you can think of, I will be happy to answer that. But we'll go ahead and jump in now. So let's see here. All right. So what are we going to cover? This, of course, is O'Doyle from Billy Madison. So he usually says O'Doyle rules, but we're talking about shipping rules today. And they're awesome. I love shipping rules. This is my favorite webinar that I conduct every week because it's just everybody asks such unique questions and everybody ships so subjectively that there's some really cool use cases that come out of here, and they help me in my day-to-day and they help you in your day-to-day. So we'll talk about a shipping rule, how it's used, some of the common uses of the shipping rule. And then, like I said, I'll open it up at the end for questions and answers. So let's talk about this first. We need to know what a shipping rule is. If you're new to the software or just kind of new to logistics in general, or just logic for that, a shipping rule is a logical statement that identifies the condition and then applies an action. So if we look at this, this graphic in the upper right-hand side, that's a stoplight, right? It's an easy stoplight. Everybody knows what it is and what its purpose serves. If the light is red, then your car is going to stop. Well, we can identify that the light's red, so that's the condition. And then the action is you stopping your car, unless you just miss it and you blow through or something like that. But that is the idea behind a rule. It's an if-then statement. If a condition is met, then an action is applied. So it works the same way with your orders and information that is downloaded into Shipping Easy. If this keyboard that I'm shipping to my grandmother weighs less than a pound, then we'll ship it first class. So that way I'm not shipping this priority mail. I'm not shipping it with my UPS rates. It's less than a pound. So I've identified that. And then the condition or the action that I'm applying to it is going to be the actual shipping service. They can be super broad. A shipping rule can be as broad as the sky is blue. Or it can be as specific as a neutron star. That's a terrible example. But my point being is that they can cover a large swath of order conditions. You could say everything under a pound needs to go first class, or you could say specifically only keyboards going to Delaware in the month of May go first class. You can be as specific as that with our software. So it really, again, that's why I like this webinar so much, is because it just boils down to your process. I'll cover the generalities of this, and then we'll start digging into probably some of your questions around best practices. And like I said, they benefit everybody. They get everybody thinking, and we're just trying to figure out and problem solve. I love this webinar. And the reason, of course, rules are beneficial, cuts down on decisions you have to make daily in the software. So when you log into Shipping Easy, you don't have to go, well, shoot, how should this one go? How should this one go? How should this one go? If you set up a shipping rule, all of those decisions get made ahead of time. So you can come in and say, oh, these are all good. Click, print, pack, and we're good. Some of the main uses for a shipping rule, the first and probably most prominent is a shipping selection. So it's a shipping assignment. United States Postal Service first class, that's a preset or a shipping assignment. Customers use this pretty regularly. So a shipping rule for that will be, if the package weighs under 1 pound, then ship it first class. If it weighs over a pound, use US Postal Priority Mail, or whatever service makes the most sense. So the first main use for a shipping rule is to assign a shipping selection for it. The second use for a shipping rule, this is an expansion as far as how customers use Shipping Easy, because we're not strictly a shipping label producing service. We do that. That's the bulk of what we do, of course. But how do you print a shipping label? Well, you have to have an order for it to print out, right? So people use shipping rules in more of an order management standpoint as well. So you can do things like, if the order is shipping to the West Coast, assign it to this particular user, because this is my user who uses my Shipping Easy account. He's based in California, and it will be cheaper to ship the package from there versus here in Ohio where we're at. There's different ways to manipulate the order data that comes into Shipping Easy and achieve the desired result. And the third most common use for shipping rules is through from a financial standpoint. This one's a little more complex than just order management and shipping assignment, but it is fairly common, such as assigning insurance to really valuable products that you might be having, assigning a third-party logistics company for the billing. Maybe you want to use your cousin's UPS account because it has better rates than yours. That can be done through the shipping rules as well, and it's fairly common. Before you set up a shipping rule, obviously you need to understand the conditions that you're trying to identify for your orders. So I need to know that this keyboard is under a pound, or I need to know that shipments going out to California need to go with FedEx because my FedEx rates are great. There's all sorts of different things to keep in mind before you start just getting in there and setting up conditions. The most common ones that you can set up and instantly get going pertain to that previous slide as well. Well, on this slide, I recommend you set up a shipping preset. If you're not familiar with what a shipping preset is within Shipping Easy, it's just a combination of a carrier, a service, and a package. So an example of a preset would be United States Postal Service, that's the carrier. The service is Priority Mail, and the package is a special 8x8x8 package I have. You could even use one of the post office's packages if you wanted to. You could say a medium flat rate box, but that would be an example of a preset that you could then apply to an order based on a shipping rule. The other thing you'll want to set up is an order category. And order category gets back to your order management, and they're very simple. I'll show you what they look like right now. Order categories are just these little colored bars here on the order screen. They indicate different things to different people. My order category that is red may mean stop shipping or don't ship this package. And your system, it may mean ship away, or it may mean this is John's shipment, so it needs to go to him. That's what an order category is, and these indicators help you organize your orders and ship more efficiently, and they can be assigned by a shipping rule. And then the last thing is just setting up a user. So we have the ability to support multiple users. Maybe John in California does the shipping for the West Coast, and I have two locations. So I can set him up with a user in Shipping Easy and assign him certain orders. So that way he doesn't ship anything that's going to the East Coast because it's not cost effective. He only tackles the West Coast stuff, and then I tackle the East Coast stuff, or however I want to divvy that up. We have the ability to actually set up users so that this order screen is completely dependent on the conditions that you set. And to set up a user, it's very simple. You click on settings in the upper right-hand corner, and we've got users right here beneath the account settings page. We'll click on it. And as you can see, I've got a star-studded list of shippers. Johnny Depp, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Tom Selleck all work for me. They're really good employees. It's really encouraging. They're great at their job. But this is where you would set up their specific users. And again, I can limit them on as far as their conditions, what they can receive. I don't really trust Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's kind of shifty in my eyes. So I've reduced his permissions here so that he can only add orders, edit the recipient, and edit stock levels. I want to reduce the amount of things he can do. That's getting off topic as far as how the rules apply, but I did want to point that out that, that these are available for you. So we'll go back to the orders page real quick. So here's a shipping preset that I mentioned. Again, there's the carrier, United States Postal Service, Priority Mail, padded flat rate envelope. So this is on the orders page. This is where you can affect a shipping preset and establish one. This is where you actually add a preset. I'm not going to go too far into what this preset condition is and how you create it. I do a webinar on Tuesdays about getting set up for Shipping Easy, and we cover the preset process there. If anybody wants to know how to set up a preset, I'll of course answer it at the end, but I'm not going to go through it for the bulk of this. This is the order category page as well. So this is how you set it up on your Shipping Easy settings page. That's the top screenshot. The bottom screenshot is how it appears on the actual orders page. And that's just another page of orders categories. I like order categories a lot because they add, no pun intended, order to your orders. And this is just a filter. As you can see, I filtered to first class domestic and only 2 results showed up on my orders page. That's because they have been categorized accordingly. And I think that's it for the slides. Oh, users, we already went through that. Order categories, not Q&A. We're not going there yet. Don't ask me a question, just kidding. You can ask as many questions as you want. I'll answer them at the end. So let's actually talk about how to set up a shipping rule and where you're going to do that. Get some water. In the upper left-hand corner, sorry, right-hand corner, we'll click on settings. My voice just cracked. On the right-hand side, we're gonna click on the shipping rules menu right here. And as you can see, I have 3 separate shipping rules already created in my account. They all serve different purposes. I'm just gonna start from scratch just so we get comfortable. So let's look at that first most commonly used shipping rule. It is to assign a preset. So again, the preset is a shipping combination of a carrier, a service, and a package. So we're going to work through a very simple shipping preset. And again, yours can be very complicated or they can be very broad, as this one is going to be. So we're going to call this one the Pink Panther preset. Ooh, man, I love alliteration. The Pink Panther preset. So what does that mean? It means that this rule is going to apply to anything that weighs under a pound. I call it the Pink Panther preset because I just like alliteration, but we need to define the condition first, which is the if statement. So again, we're identifying the orders that are going to fall into this bucket. And we're going to cast a wide net and we're going to say if the order weight, and now we have different ways we can stipulate this. We could say is equal to and be really precise, but again, I want to cast a larger net here so that I have more orders end up in this preset. So I'm going to toggle it from is equal to all the way to is less than or equal to, because again, we're trying to establish a first class preset here. And what is a first class service? Well, it has to be under 15 the order has to be at 15.9 ounces or below. So we have to be very precise from that respect. So I'm going to say if the order is equal to or less than 15.99 ounces. That's a super precise way, but it's also broad enough that it's going to encompass a lot of different orders if I have lightweight packages. So there's the condition. And then we're going to add one more definition here, because if you're unaware, there are 2 separate first class services. There's one for domestic and there's one for international. So again, I just want to be as precise as possible in this instance, but still wide enough to catch all of my domestic first class shipments. So we're going to add another condition to our if statement, and we're going to say destination right here is equal to, and we can only say is equal to or is not equal to. There's no variation. We're either domestic or it's an international shipment. There's no, I mean, there are territories for the US, but those would technically get lumped in as international. That's a little complex for what we're talking about. We're just looking at the good old continental US of A. So we're going to say is equal to domestic. And then I'm going to toggle the then statement. So we've identified our order. It has to be at 15.99 ounces or below. It has to be shipping within the contiguous United States or Alaska and Hawaii. Now we need to apply the actual condition, which will be the action part of this. This is the then statement. We're going to toggle this down from assigned to category, and we're going to go to the very bottom, set shipping preset. So this is where we'll actually select the preset that we want orders that meet the criteria above to be assigned to. Right now it says UPS next day air. That's way too expensive and not necessary for my purposes. And again, you might be different. Maybe you are selling jars of caviar and it has to be rushed overnight. It might be lighter, but it has to get there sooner. Well, first class mail is too slow of a service. That caviar is going to spoil and it's going to taste terrible. So maybe you need to do next day air. I don't. I sell keyboards. So let's just get it with the first class option here, which is my first class USPS. We'll just use the envelope right on this guy. Now he's ready to go. Put this in my special envelope bag that's going first class, and I can ship it out. But after I save this rule, any order that meets that condition is going to automatically have that first class designation apply. Now, as you can see on my demo account, I have this shipping rule already made. I don't save the other ones just because there would be a lot of overlap and redundancy. So I already have one made that does assign a category to the order as well for easier processing. So let's go back to the orders page of Shipping Easy, and let's pretend that I had a bunch of orders come through last night and they're all under £1, and so they all passed through that shipping rule. Well, I would expect then that we are going to be able to filter specifically to my first class shipments because I have that category and I have that other shipping rule the category in the shipping rule that's going to help them be able to filter out. So on the left-hand side, here are my order categories. So I'm going to drop that guy down. And as you can see, I've got my first class domestic category right there. So we've got a really cool thing we're going to do where we have 146 orders total. That's my aggregate volume of orders. It's from every channel and shipping every method. That's everybody. But as soon as I cut this down to first class, we go from 146 orders to 18 orders. So these are 18 orders that met that rules criteria and passed it. So that means they were applied a first class shipping service. And I could just come in here and buy the labels from this page, or I could group as a batch and buy them from ready to ship if I want to add anything else to those shipments. But that's a really nice way to be able to filter your orders and then be able to find them on the orders page and just bulk print them. So that's the actual shipping preset. And you know what? We basically covered the order category in that instance as well, because again, order categories are just a means to better filter and display information about your orders. Any order that has one of these, I think that's purple. It's either purple or black. I cannot tell. I think it's black. Any order that has any of these black bars to the left of it, that means that it should be going first class. Now, if I need to, I can of course always come over here and override that and ship it priority mail. Anything that you do to an order via a shipping rule, it can always be undone or overridden if you need to. But yeah, this is just a really good way for cutting up your orders and assigning a preset to them. Let's see, go back. Yeah, actually, you know what? We could get into the financial part of it. I mean, I'll at least show you where that's at. We could say, and for example, if the order is going to California, and I want to use my California warehouse's third-party billing account, so I'm going to use their FedEx rates because they're better and they're closer. All we need to do is just figure out how do we identify that order, and you could do that through a number of ways, but the most straightforward is destination state is equal to California, and then we're going to set the third-party billing there at the bottom. And there's my Jack Ship. He's the West Coast guy. So that means if an order is going to California, it means he's going to ship it, and we're going to use his billing account. Now, this gets into the nuance too that's really cool with the users, because I would also want to add the user category here. So we could assign to user Jack Ship. So if I were just to run this rule as it is, I could potentially have access to ship that order by mistake. But if I assign it to a user, only Jack Ship is going to have the opportunity to ship that. So yeah, that is all I have actually. I mean, I wanted to really just I like this webinar because there's a lot of questions that are very broad, and everybody likes to just have these cool instances. So I keep it pretty general in my respect. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A right now. But just to recap, if you're just joining us, and we're talking about shipping rules, and they are if-then statements. If is the condition that we're trying to identify, then is the action that we are trying to take. So let me jump over real quick and see what questions we have. Tom, Joe, and company, how are you guys? Good to see you again. So we've got, going back to the order categories, what if our store is having a hard time syncing the order categories? Interesting question. Someone is asking, okay, so how can our store assign order categories? Well, Shipping Easy won't actually pull over an order category from your store per se. We won't be able to say like this bar is only appearing within our software. It's not coming over on order data that's being downloaded into Shipping Easy. So I would say if you're having issues having an order category apply to an order, we need to reevaluate the conditions for that order because it's missing something. Maybe there's a destination state that needs to be included that is not included on the rule. There's a number of variables that go into why an order may not pass a rule and have the desired effect. That brings me to a good point though. If you're putting together shipping rules and you're trying to figure out, well, which ones did it pass or which ones didn't it? If you actually pop up the order on the orders page of Shipping Easy, on the lower right-hand side of that order slide out, you've got a really cool event log that tells you all of the orders that it passed. A rule that passed. An order can pass multiple shipping rules. I could have a shipping rule at the top of my list that says, if the order comes from my Shopify store, then assign it to category Shopify. But if I have another rule beneath it that says, if the order is less than £1, ship it first class, well, that order will pass to shipping rules so long as it's less than £1 and it comes from Shopify. So we would see multiple rules applied here. And if you've just set one up and you expect this one to pass that rule that you have just set up, come to the event log, look at which ones it passed, take another gander as far as what you're trying to identify about that rule, and then make the necessary adjustment on the actual shipping rule itself. Good question. Can you track a user's activity when they have their own account? Can you categorize? We'll start there. Can you track a user's activity when they have their own account? You can. So if we pull up this order, say this order is going to be shipped by the ever shifty Joseph Gordon Levitt, we're going to take the order number of 8353. And then we're going to go to our settings, and this is an admin privilege. So just keep in mind that if you're the boss, you can do this. And if you're Joseph Gordon-Levitt or any of the other jokers who work for me, this won't work because we restrict the access here. But you can go to your event history, look up that order number, 8353, search back. That's probably a really old order, so I got to go back kind of far. June 2020. See, clear. We'll just search for it there. Sorry, I've got to find a newer order. I need to update my orders. I've got some angry customers, I would guess. Here we go. So this is going out to Joe Gibbs. Let's suppose it never went out. Whoops. Event history, we'll place it there. Oops. And then we'll go back just to the first, to that, apply. So the event history will look up all of the actions that have occurred on that specific order. And it's going to break it out here in just a second. But as you can see, it starts from the bottom. That's the first event that happened. The order was run through the rules engine. So the order was checked against any conditions that I had created. And then the rest of the stuff happened here. I can see that it was included on a pick list. We were printed via PDF, and then it has the user here. So I've got my system, but then I was logged in as Jack Ship. System just means Shipping Easy. It doesn't mean like a particular user or anything like that. But I've got multiple Jack Ships here, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt might be there, or Tom Selleck, whoever I'm trying to look up for that specific order. You can't look up, I mean, I guess that's a great question too. We can expand on that just for a second. With your users, you could also create a report if you wanted. And we could just say custom report. We'll call this guy the user report. User report. And so this custom report, it shows just the basic shipping information out of the box. But as you can see, there's a user column. So if some of this stuff isn't relevant, I can show or hide columns and just cut this down to whatever information I want on this report. In this case, we want to know what users shipped how many packages in a time span. You could run a report for that as well. If you're looking for a single specific order, I think the event history is going to be the easiest way. If you just want to get some general stuff about the users you have set up, I would use the reporting feature. There's a question about categories. Can you categorize by shipping status? or is it only for the type of shipping option? That's a great question. The answer is it's both. You can categorize by anything. Any identifying information about the order can be leveraged to assign a category. So this is the part where it gets really subjective. The information that's displayed on this specific order is completely subjective as far as what it means to you. Maybe because this is an international order and it's going to Belgrade, maybe that means something differently than just a shipment that's going to Alabama. So you can use those little pieces of information to build your categories and then assign the categories accordingly. If we look at my list that I have built out right now, I've got some that are based on the inventory levels that I have. I've got a category based on the shipping selection. I've got other categories based on the users. A category can be anything you want it to be as long as it makes sense to you. I feel like that answer kind of was a cop-out at the end, but it can literally be, you could call it the Pink Panther category if you'd like. And that just means for you that it's going overnight express with FedEx or something. It's completely subjective at that point. Can you go over how to set up that back order shipping preset? That's a great question. So back order isn't necessarily a preset. It's just a condition that I've identified. And this gets into how, if you're using Shipping Easy's inventory module, which is really great because it integrates with your websites and it keeps your inventory levels in one place and lets you know information about that and use this information accordingly. So if you'll notice, mine has a red bar next to it that says back order do not ship. So that just means that this keyboard, I don't actually have enough to complete an order. So we need to not ship this guy until it comes in. That's what the end goal of that rule is. So let's take a look at what that rule looks like. We'll click on settings in the upper right-hand corner. We're gonna go back to the shipping rules page, and there's my back order category. So we can't physically stop this order from being shipped. If I really wanted to, I could overwrite it and ship this out, or ship out a box of air and laugh at the customer if I wanted, if it's feeling kind of sick. But what we can do at least is filter and categorize and really organize our orders page. So here's the condition: if the product has low stock. So inside of Shipping Easy, I'll open up this window here. This is my inventory page. So let's pretend that this 99 red balloons is my keyboard. If this number of stock is at 0 and my threshold is at 0, like my low stock threshold. So I'm saying if it's at 0, let me know so that way I can reorder. Well, that information can be translated here. So if product has low stock, so if my product is at or below 0, then we're going to assign to a category of back order do not ship. So if my mother logs onto my website and orders a keyboard and Shipping Easy downloads it and says, hold on there, pump the brakes, we don't have any inventory for that. What's going to happen to that order is Shipping Easy is going to put a red bar on her order when it's downloaded. So that way, when I go in and log in and see, oh, my mom placed an order, and I'm like, oh, bummer, we don't have that. I'm going to have to email her and let her know, hey, your item's on back order. I will ship it as soon as it arrives next week. But that is how a back order category works. You do need to have the inventory setting on Shipping Easy enabled. It's not openly enabled on your account, but it is really great if you haven't thought about managing your inventory yet, or if you need something to manage it, or just having it all in one place where you can do your shipping, inventory, and customer marketing. Definitely recommend you checking that out. Probably actually get a webinar together to talk about that here in the future. Inventory is very fun as well. Can the system rate shop amongst our specific FedEx rates and USPS rates and come up with the lowest possible rate? No, we cannot. Right out of the box, we can't just say, okay, we've got a FedEx rate and we've got a postal rate. Which one's cheaper? Okay, we're going to go with the postal rate, or vice versa. That does not occur automatically within our software. However, if you set up a shipping rule, you can legislate that yourself and just say, okay, every time we go to Florida, we know FedEx is the way to go. And every time we go to the great state of Alabama, UPS is going to be our guy. So you can set that up through the shipping rules. But in short, the software will not legislate that on its own. It won't make that decision. You can also use our rate calculator, which is up here in the across the top. And you can shop around too. You could say, if we're going out to Beverly Hills, let's go ahead and it's a 5-pound package. Let's get the rate. Well, with the post office, it's $16.14. With UPS one balance, it's $12.33. With my UPS rates, it's $16.60, and my FedEx rates, it is $17.78. So I'm going to go with UPS one balance. And if anybody's unfamiliar with what UPS one balance is, it's this really great new set of rates that our parent company, Shipping Easy, Stamps.com, has started to offer. These are rates that are discounted off of UPS's retail rates. So if you're not shipping multi-carrier yet, or you don't have really competitive UPS rates, you can go into your Shipping Easy account, click on one balance and carriers, and add UPS to your Stamps.com account. Now, these are rates that Stamps.com has negotiated with UPS on your behalf, because the software processes millions and millions of shipments every month. We're able to obviously leverage lower discounts. So this is readily available in every single account. If you don't have it, I definitely invite you to take a look at it, because they're really competitive. You can always, of course, still use your own. I still have my own UPS rates plugged into my account, but maybe there are instances where the Stamps account is better. I definitely invite you to take a look at that. Can we create a filter that says if the address line 1 or contains PO box? Yeah, that's a great question. So this question is derived around the destination address of a package. So again, we can be very broad and just say anywhere in the contiguous United States. I love that word contiguous. Or we could be as specific as saying if it's going to a PO box in Florida or something like that. So let's take a look real quick at what that looks like. We'll go back to shipping rules. We'll say add new. And I like to keep the if statement broad in just this example. So we could just say if the store is equal to my Amazon store and the destination, and we'll say type, whoops. So as you can see, we have a list of destination types right here, and it might be good to review this if you're shipping through UPS or FedEx, where it really matters if it's a commercial or residential location you're delivering to. For example, you would not be able to ship a package to a commercial location if you're trying to leverage FedEx's home delivery. It'll throw back an error saying, hey, we can't use this service here because it's commercial. You need to use like FedEx ground or UPS ground. So yeah, you can come in here, make that condition. We can say PO box, and then we could go through and we could assign it to a different preset if we wanted. We could assign it to a category. Then it's just up to you as far as what action you want to take on orders that meet that criteria. Great question. Will Shipping Easy allow for a rule to categorize orders that have different billing versus shipping addresses? That's a good question. I've actually never been asked that one. Let's find out together. If the billing address, shipping address, no, it doesn't look like there's a way to have that stipulation in there. I think that's a really cool rule, though. I will put that into our feature request. I've never been asked that before. But yeah, basically this customer is asking if there's a way to identify either the billing address or shipping address of the order and have an action apply to it. There is not from a store integration. Now, a potential workaround would be if you upload the order via a CSV, or you use our quick ship option for a manual order, because you can leverage that custom field data. Now, a custom field is only available on a CSV file and this quick ship option. It is not available on an actual platform like Shopify. So if you build your shipping rule to include, let's just say, I'm just going to upload as a CSV 100 orders, and the billing address is going to be in custom field 1. So that's how we would identify it. We'd say custom field 1 is equal to billing address, and the address obviously would be the information that you put on the Excel spreadsheet when you upload it. So it wouldn't say billing address, it'd say like 123 or whatever. But you would want to upload that into Shipping Easy and then make the selection there. That being said, this is probably still too specific, because if you have the billing address column as custom field 1 in Excel, well, if you say if the custom field is equal to billing address, the custom field needs to be the actual billing address that you're going to use. So I guess really the best way to do this, depending on your action, I honestly can't say what the best way. It's just going to be too specific. If we put 123 Fake Street, Well, that's a single order we can identify, but if you have 10 orders and they all have different billing addresses, that does us no good. So that actually can't really be legislated right out the box. That's a really interesting thing. Give us a call, because I hope that I get to help you on that one, because these are the solutions that I like to figure out. So I've got more questions around that. I'm not going to go too in depth onto this single shipping rule, but yeah, just give us a call and we'll strategize around that. I just need a little bit more information pertaining to that. That's a great question. God, I love this webinar. Do shipping rules. Let's see. What is UPS one balance? I just covered that. It's stamps.com's discounted rates. Does Shipping Easy also have special rates negotiated with FedEx SmartPost? No, Shipping Easy supports rates negotiated with the post office and UPS through the stamps.com account. If our store wasn't allowed to purchase postage without inventory being stocked, then how would it work with Shipping Easy in that order? So if I understand this question, someone is asking about if their store, if their specifically plugged in store, will say Shopify, doesn't allow the purchase of this keyboard unless there's inventory in it. So if that's at zero in Shopify, you cannot buy it. So I would assume if that's the case, then we're not going to download that order. If my mom goes to buy that keyboard on your Shopify store and it has zero inventory, and you are trying to you have in your Shopify store, do not allow purchase if it's at zero, then that order just stops dead right there. Now, there's a specific setting in Shopify, for example, that will prevent overselling or having your customers purchase stuff that you don't have. If you don't have that enabled, we'll still download it. So the only way we can really assign it to that category of back order is if there's a way for the software, Shipping Easy's software, to identify it as zero. And that's Shipping Easy is where that number has to be. It can't come from Shopify. Shipping Easy is your point of truth when it comes to inventory. So I'm glad you brought this up. If you're thinking about inventory, just understand that you're going to use Shipping Easy as your point of truth for all of your inventory levels. If you're trying to just push inventory into Shipping Easy, it's not going to work. You're going to have a bad time. We will always put in extra inventory so the customer can purchase a big commerce. So to expand on that back order, there's a lot of questions coming in about the back order category. This question is, how can I still have a back order category if I want to have inventory in stock? So if I understand correctly, you're asking, how can you have a back order category if you have 30 of these things? Well, the category, keep in mind, conditions have to be met for that category to apply. So you could have that back order category in place, but as long as I have 30 of these guys and the orders are downloading and Shipping Easy is able to say, okay, cool, there are 30, there are 29, 28, 27, until it hits that zero threshold, that category is not going to apply to those orders. If you combine two orders together, does it bump the present already listed out of the equation? This is a question around combining orders, so we'll go back to the orders page. These are amazing questions. Keep them coming. So to combine an order, all we have to do is select one or more orders. Well, I guess two or more. And then we can click on the More button. Combine orders, and I could do it for everybody that has the same recipient, or I could just do it with these two. So what that'll do is it will just combine the order information for those specific orders together. And you'll just have to decide, okay, well, if they're going to, if they have two different recipients, you'll just have to make the decision on, no, I need to send this to Joe Gibbs, or no, I need to send it to the New York Tough Guy. But that's all that happens when you combine an order. And then assuming that you've done this on the Shipping Easy orders page, they've already gone through the shipping rules. So there's not going to be like a new action taken at that point. Is there a way shipping rule via blacklist categorize orders? Oh, I see. Okay, so the question, and this is, I'm glad you put this as a follow-up. Somebody asked as a follow-up to that question around a billing address and a shipping address. This is actually pretty common, and I'm glad you brought this up too. So basically they're asking if the billing address and the shipping address for an order do not match up, is there a way to flag it? Because that's typically an indication of fraud. There's no way, since we can't identify the billing address and shipping address independently in the shipping rule conditions. So if we jump back over there, we would want, ideally in this case, to say if the billing address, and then we could say like is different to the shipping address, right? That would be in like a perfect world what we could have. We don't have any way of saying specifically or identifying the billing address, but that's a great use case. And like I said, I really like the billing address and shipping address use in shipping rules. So this will definitely get brought up in the meetings that we have when we talk about the product. Somebody complimented me on my mustache. Thank you very much. I have noticed you record these calls. These recordings are going to be made available. I'm actually working on that tomorrow. So we'll upload these to Shipping Easy's YouTube channel. And I'm just going to start putting every single one up there. I don't know that you want to watch every single one over and over again, but they'll be made available. So the most recent one will always be there. But if there was a particular one that you happen to sit in as well and you thought was helpful, you'll be able to find it. But I'll start making those available tomorrow on our YouTube channel. In your example, if a shipping preset is assigned, it doesn't complete the order to the point of buy-in label. Great question. So someone is asking if basically when you assign a shipping preset, there it is. So let's go back. We're going to assign this guy to UPS next day air. What action, is there any additional action it takes on the order beyond saying it's ready for UPS next day air? Initially, no. Initially, we could just set it to send to the orders page. So right now, that's where you should probably always start with your orders, is send them to the orders page so you can either make any adjustments you might need or do any other actions on them. You could send them to the ready to ship page if you like, which is this page if you're not familiar with it. It's where you can make any sort of adjustment on the shipment. We could go from USPS to UPS, or going back to the final, like the nuclear options, if you will, of our shipping rules, you could purchase and print the label. So I could, as soon as an order is downloaded, we could just say, if the store is equal to Amazon, and I know that everything that's coming in real quick is going to go through UPS next day air, I don't even want to think about it. Well, if it's a purchase and print, as soon as an order is downloaded into Shipping Easy, it runs through the software at lightning fast speed, and then a label will come out of my printer. Now, this is a nuclear option. Like I said, this will continually happen whether you're in the room grabbing those labels or not. So if you're a high volume shipper, be very careful with this, because there have been people that have, for whatever reason, left this running overnight, and they had a flash sale and they had about 1,000 labels that were laying on the floor, and it was pandemonium. So that's very difficult for me to help you fix, because I'm not physically there to help you sweep them up. I can only coach you on how to use the software. So just be prepared. Only use this unless you're absolutely confident. Unless you're like the Fonz level confident of shipping, use that one. You could also drop ship these guys too, which just removes them from the software. Are you repeating the webinar topic next week, or are you going to be different? So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday have the same webinar topics. Tuesday is how to ship from the orders page. Wednesday is picking and packing, fulfillment processes, and Thursdays are shipping rules. We're going to add a fourth day in there, and it's going to be the wildcard day. As I mentioned, I think inventory is a good candidate, definitely customer marketing. I'm thinking of some other things as well. We'll be sending out surveys here soon on these webinars, asking for your feedback, if I'm being effective, if I'm meandering, if I'm not funny. But feel free to ask request any topics. We can definitely be democratic about this and say, oh yeah, we got like 30 people that want to know more about drop shipping and our support for that, or anything along those lines. If I sell on multiple marketplaces, how would one assign a color category? Great question. There's a question around multiple marketplaces and assigning to different categories. This is going to be your store. So a marketplace could be Amazon, it could be eBay. A specific website could be Shopify or BigCommerce. Just select the store dropdown. So we're going to identify the store condition is equal to, and then I've got Amazon, there's Shopify, there's one of my sub-account stores. That's how you would assign it to a different category. And then of course you would just assign to category versus actually assigning to a preset. Oh, one more question about back ordering. If I don't have inventory, but I want to continue selling, I need to add inventory, shipping easy. But if I add inventory, it won't be auto categories. How can, okay, so yeah, to just kind of piggyback on how the back order question works, you have to, we'll go through steps together. You have to enable inventory on Shipping Easy. So we'll click on product catalog. And the first thing that you will do is you will set a, what's called your threshold. This is your low stock threshold. This says that I need to know every time I'm at or below this number. So in this case, it's 5. So if those 99 red balloons go down to 5 or below, I'll get a notification saying, hey, some of your products are on below their threshold. It's time to reorder. So first, when you're trying to use like the idea of like back ordering and labeling them, set up the threshold for all your products. So I just use 5 across the board. It's easy. I know what that means. And again, this is completely subjective on your part. So this is set up inside of Shipping Easy. We can identify that. And then that information is leveraged in the actual shipping rule itself. So if we jump back over to our shipping rules, then you would set up the actual shipping rule that says, if product is at low stock, then assign to category. So first we have to find that information, and that requires you going into your product catalog and setting up that information, which you could just click on the actual SKU itself, edit, and there's my low stock threshold. I'm gonna say it's at 0. That means I'll have to reorder it if my levels get down to 0. So this isn't going to prevent any order from being placed on your website or stopping downloading from Shipping Easy. But what it will do is it will allow you to filter to specifically those back orders that have downloaded into Shipping Easy and then contact the person who bought it from you. Can one product be in 2 different categories? That's a great question. It cannot. What I recommend in that instance, so we'll click on product catalog. I would just look for another avenue you could use for it. So for example, you have your, scroll down a little bit. You have your category right here. So as you can see, it's a window. I can select test ski bundle cat 1, whatever that means, and add a new one, but I couldn't add both of those guys together. So while I can't have a category, multiple categories, I could use an order tag or a product tag there. And those are, I just saw them. There it is. So this tag, we could call it 1, 2, 3. There's the tag, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can have multiple tags, which can still be filtered on the Shipping Easy orders page, or just a single category. Great question. How are you Shipping Easy? But I want to double check. There's still no way to add something to an order. So it appears on the packing slip, like if a customer. Actually, okay, so there's a good question around having a final packing slip for a customer. Basically, the question is there a way to identify an order condition? So if the order is a gift, or if the order is coming from this store, then we want to apply this specific packing slip that's customized. The first thing you would do is we'll click on settings in the upper right-hand corner. We'll go to our packing slips. And as you can see, I've got a bunch of different ones set up right now within my Shipping Easy test account. So you would come in here, you would say, okay, well, these are my gift packing slips that I want to set up so that every order that is a gift or has this condition has this action, which is to use this packing slip. So we could say, I'm going to modify this guy to include a whole host of variables. We could say we could include the billing company, whatever information you want this particular customer for this order to receive, just add it to your packing slip and then save it. And once you have that packing slip generated, just jump back over to your rules page and build the shipping rule around the actual packing slip. So we could say if the store is equal to Amazon, that's a bad example. We'll use Shopify. So we'll say it's the golf one. So I want to use my golfing packing slip. I can't just send him my jet ski packing slip. Why would he get a jet ski packing slip? He's a golfer. So we can assign it to set the packing slip, which is right here. You could do the final packing slip template or just the packing slip template, and you can toggle to the one that you would like. and then save it. So now we've identified our condition. If the store is equal to Shopify, then set it to this standard with barcode or whatever packing slip makes the most sense for you. But beware of the multiple tag. If you have tag A, tag B on a product, the rule does not understand that the tag is tag A and B. Oh, so there was another interesting question going back to our tags real quick. So you can set rule conditions around like SKU tags. And so the question, or it's not really a question, but he was pointing out, if you have tag A and B on the product, the rule does not understand that it has tag A and tag B. It takes it as tag AB. He's right. So in that previous example, if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, I would need to have a tag that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are two separate tags. So in this instance, we would say 1, 2, 3, enter. Then you could say if SKU tag equals 4, 5, 6. So what that's saying is this order has to have SKU tag 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. There's not an or logic built into our shipping rules. We can't say if it's either or. We have to be it gets very precise. The rules engine gets very precise when we start trying to split hairs like that. That's a great question. I am trying to set up a first class shipping preset and it's not giving me first class as an option. Oof, that's no good. Well, let's take a look at this together. Now I can't see your screen and it's going to work flawlessly on mine because my account is perfect. But to set up first class, just make sure that we're in the same place together. And again, I can't see your screen, but we're gonna click on new preset. Select the option of United States Postal Service. We'll select first class. One thing too, I guess I should jump back real quick. Make sure that you're on domestic if that's where you want to be, because you do have the option of first class international. But first class domestic, first class, add the package or select one of the new ones and create it. So that would be how you would go through it. If you're not seeing the first class option on this page, or you're not even seeing the United States Postal Service option there, I would invite you to take a look at your One Balance and Carriers page, because if you're a new customer and you haven't set up your stamps.com account, we're not going to provide you with any sort of rate quotes or the ability to display any of that information until you set up that stamps account, because it's just not, it's not created. So that's how we get that information in there. Can you create a rule that would populate a return label? If so, yeah, great question. So we support scan-based returns in the Shipping Easy software. So again, identify the conditions for your rule. We could say if the order status is equal to partially shipped or something, then we will go ahead and set the scan-based return, which is right here. Create a scan-based return label. What a scan-based return label is it's a label that gets sent out with your order. So maybe this is a really high value keyboard. And so if anything happens to in the first 10 days, then the customer has the option to ship it back to me and I'll fix it or whatever the deal is for my business. So the scan-based return accompanies the keyboard to the buyer. And then if it's broken and they need to send it back, they can use that label that's in the box, put it on the package and ship it back to me, the manufacturer. Now, the nice thing about it is that I don't get charged the label until it is physically scanned into the mail stream. So that's just like it sounds. It's literally scan-based return. It doesn't charge your account until you get scanned. My orders have multiple items. Is there a way to automatically split them, split the order items with presets? Yes, there is. We'll use a shipping rule and we could say like if the total quantity is equal to, we could say is greater than or equal to 2. So this is just saying if the total quantity of the order is greater than or equal to, you have a couple of options for splitting them. We could break out and split by SKU, and that just means if I have a keyboard and a glass of water that I'm shipping, those are two separate line items, and a line item is just a product. So this is a product and this is a product. It's quantity too, but they're two separate products. So what that rule will do is it will break them apart and make them their own order. So you could ship Brad a keyboard, you could also ship him a glass of water. And then, so that's, oh, I'm sorry, that's the split all line items. You could break it out and split by SKU, which that would require a specific SKU for your products. So as you can see, I've got a bunch here, but that's just going to say, just split that whole thing out. And if you've downloaded orders too that you're looking to split, you can always come back to your orders page. and we'll find this guy right here. We can select that quantity too. So we've got two different items in there. So we'll select them, more, split order item, or just split the order. So you can always do that as well if the order has been downloaded into Shipping Easy. I would love to keep answering questions. These are awesome. And this is why I love Thursdays. It's my favorite day of the week now. I have to go. I have other meetings that I have to attend to, but thank you very much for joining me. I do these every single week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we'll probably start adding probably Friday. Mondays are really tough because that's most people's heaviest shipping day. So keep an eye out for a Friday edition that will be not reoccurring there. If you have any questions or need help with anything, just give us a call, and the number in the upper left-hand corner of your Shipping Easy account. I definitely recommend chatting in as well. If you're having a tough time getting a call back or anything like that, you can shoot us an email. It'll be myself or one of my colleagues that helps you out. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me, and everybody have a good rest of your Thursday. I'm going to try to fade us out with some My Morning Jacket. So yeah.